Welcome to the 2009 EDF Alpe d'Huez Triathlon, a triathlon like no other, with of course that famous hill climb that they use in the Tour de France, finishing off the cycle ride, the second of the three disciplines. Beautiful scenery throughout, Alpe d'Huez hosting the event and providing plenty of entertainment throughout the competition week, and of course athletes, friends, families all present waiting for the action. Two categories of athlete, those who want to win and those who just want to succeed and finish the event. Lots of international involvement as well, and the Australians are here. Their coach Brett Sutton looking forward to the event and hugely impressed by the course.
Well, what we do is we're an international team, and a lot of other countries outside of Spain, France, Germany think they know about biking, but they don't. And so what we do is each year my team, we have a pilgrimage. On the bike, he's very, very strong. So for me, it's very important for the young ones to understand that because of the short course racing now with the Olympics, they tend to forget about the bike. It's just a swim and a run. Well, when I come into triathlon, I come in because it was three sports, it was no drafting, made me very happy. I have not changed my mentality. You know, I think it is, the station is a very, very strategic training method. And, you know, it's my hope to help Cyril make this an international race, because I still think it's the best test of triathlon anywhere in Europe.
So last-minute preparations for many of the athletes. Those that have forgotten various bits of equipment have plenty of opportunity to buy whatever they need. The spectators with their start sheets and of course all the information that they require about the course. One of the main features, Lake Verney, where the swim takes place, owned by EDF, the main sponsor themselves, and this is the only time that swimmers are allowed to use this lake throughout the year. They block off the barrage, and of course all 500 plus of the athletes taking to the water at the same time. That is just the start of a grueling event. 2.2 kilometers for the long course on the swim, and then 115 kilometers of cycling up to Alpe d'Huez before they run at an altitude of over 1,700 meters. A 22-kilometer run in all, winding its way round the town of Alpe d'Huez. 3 loops to be completed up at altitude. It's in a different planet, said one of the competitors who raced last year. So, plenty of athletes have been here before. They've all been impressed by the course and the scenery.
Personnellement, cette course est vraiment magnifique. Là, ce sera la
This race is really beautiful.
fois que je participerai aux longues
It's my
distances.
second long distance race.
Le triathlon
I would say
de
that Cyril Neveu's triathlon has exceptional scenery with the Ornon Pass, the Alpe du Grand Serre Pass, and then the finish with the Alpe d'Huez climb. It really is a great course.
L'Alpe d'Huez, dans l'historique du triathlon, on n'a pas trop connu. On a plutôt connu l'Alpe d'Huez avec le milieu du vélo.
Alpe d'Huez is known more in cycling history than triathlon history. To share this course with cycling and take part in a triathlon organised by Cyril, who was a great triathlete, is fantastic.
C'est quelque chose d'exceptionnel. Et effectivement, je pense qu'il y a deux catégories de sportifs qui viennent à l'Alpe d'Huez. Ceux qui viennent vraiment pour qui sont initiés au triathlon.
I think there are two types of athletes at Alpe d'Huez. Those who are well trained and come for the performance of a career, and those who just want to climb Alpe and discover this beautiful course.
The
atmosphere is great. I think it would be very difficult. It will be my first triathlon in such mountains and at a very high altitude. But I feel great, and my first impressions are very positive.
Wetsuit on, bathing caps on as well, and the numbers donned on that cap itself. The swim, of course, is flat on Lake Verney. The cycle course is anything but. 3 big climbs with the climax of the Alpe d'Huez. 21 hairpin bends in all. They'll be counting them down painfully as they make their way up to T2 and the transition from cycling into running. Well, what a setting for the Alpe d'Huez Triathlon. Remember, only the 4th time this event has taken place. It's not in the Book of Legends yet, but I think many people thinking that this might become Europe's big triathlon. The answer to Hawaii. So away they go. Those on the right obviously hearing the gun a little bit earlier. 2,200 metres to be completed on the swim. This is the long course. Two other events taking place this week. The short course and then the kids race, which is highly contested. But the blue ribbon is, of course, this marathon of a triathlon. It's going to be one almighty swim to get themselves in a good position for the cycle race itself. Drafting is, of course, allowed, but with 3 passes to go up to, I'm not sure it's going to be as beneficial as it is on many of the Olympic distance races that we've covered in the past. So an early break in the swim, and amongst the top swimmers, the likes of Kunama of South Africa, very strong swimmer indeed. And the women in amongst the elite field as well. Nicolas Spierig is one of the leading contenders for the women's event. She'll be wearing number 24. You might just pick her out, rounding the first buoy. And the field already starting to spread out. Very, very hot day indeed. 34, 35 predicted for midday. And come 2 o'clock, when they're expected to start the climb up the Alpe d'Huez, it could get as high as 35, 36. And that would be really tough, certainly for those competitors that have come from the UK. Water temperature ranges between 14 to 16 throughout the year on a hot day like this. I should think they'll be hoping for 14.5, 15 degrees. With wetsuits on, that won't really be a problem. Nice fresh conditions for the start of this long race. Big gap between that leading group, and the pace being set by the leaders, which is fairly brutal at the moment. The likes of Charlie Loisel, the Frenchman from Pauitoo Triathlon, setting a really brutal pace that's spreading the rest of the field out. Not sure who that competitor is in second, who's lost his head cap. Hard to identify. Might well be the likes of Julian Loi, one of the favourites here. The Italians, well, they're hoping for something good today. They've got Domenico Parcello, who's in the field. He's a strong swimmer. Massimo Shigana, another of the Italians. He's not so quick in the water, but he's a very good cyclist, an ex-professional cyclist, so we're expecting to see him feature in the second half of the race. Number 24 is, of course, Nicolas Spierig of Switzerland, the 36-year-old European Olympic distance debut this year. Did exceptionally well there. Has beaten many of the other women in this field, so she'll be confident that she can do something good here today. Now, I have a feeling that it is Charlie Loisel who has now taken the lead in the swim. Nice slow kick with the feet. He won't accelerate the leg movements until he gets near the end of the swim, and what a run. Here he goes up into the T1, a crucial stage to make sure you get a good position on the bike. So Loisel it is who leads the way out of the swim. Up there also Marcos Onella of Brazil, who's been around for a number of years now. Looking forward to seeing what he can do on the second and third discipline in this event. Now, one or two of these men looking very well built for the Alpe d'Huez. Compare them to your professional cyclists on the Tour de France. They're carrying an extra 5, 6, maybe even 7 kilos, which they'll live to regret on the climb. There is Loisel. You can see the name on the back of his tri-suit, now covered up by the number 4. Marcos Ornelas, number 1 in the black suit. He'll be away in just a moment. On with the cycling shoes. A number of the athletes choosing to keep the shoes clipped into the pedals. That's standard practice in triathlons nowadays. And Nicolas Spierig, who we picked up on earlier on, is leading the field as far as the women are concerned. She's worked well with a number of the men, just sticking in beside, getting the advantage of slipstreaming, and then overtakes them up the ramp just to make up an extra few seconds. What an excellent swim from Spierig. and she's going to come out in a time of roughly 28:37 for 2.2 kilometres. That's a quick swim indeed, and the fastest of the men, Charlie Loisel, 27:27. So Spierig now wants to capitalise on that excellent start. One of Switzerland's best distance triathletes over the years. Still looking very fresh. Things are going to start to heat up now as she goes into the cycle ride. Remember, 115 kilometres and 3 major climbs to be completed. Domenico Pucella just going through T1, on with the helmet. Now he must settle into the second discipline. Just going past is Erika Shishmore, who's one of the top women completing. Let's have a look at the men's swimming times, and bear in mind this includes the times for T1. Hence Charlie Loisel, who was first out of the water, has thrown away over 30 seconds in T1. He may regret that, but if he's with a good cyclist at the start of the second phase, it won't matter too much. Going through T1 now, Alexandra Loisson, looking very calm indeed. That's another good swim by her. The top 4 women separated by a couple of minutes. We should get their swim times in just a moment or two. Here we go. Nicolas Spierig first out the water, first out of the transition, 29:48. Langit in second, 1:14 behind, and Jean Collonge a little bit further back. So a good margin being built by Spierig on that first run, and we'll try and monitor her progress throughout this long cycle. Julian Loi, one of the top men in the field, going through a vitally important discipline, making sure you've got enough fuel on board at the start of the first of the big climbs up the Col de l'Alpe de Grande Serre. And yes, you need to go fast, but you certainly need to pace yourself today in this heat, and with 2 big climbs still to come. Over 1,000 vertical metres to be climbed on the first one, and then 700 metres on the second. And the Alpe d'Huez, well, the worst of the lot, up those 21 turns. Going through is Charlie Loisel, making up for his lost time in T1. He's claimed back 1 more place and back up into second. Looking pretty relaxed. And of course he's got some pretty stiff international competition. James Kanama must be one of the favourites from South Africa.
I've always been a long distance athlete. I was a long distance runner before I did any triathlon, swimming or biking, and I love the long distance. The longer the better. I just love the challenge, and my swim has never been strong enough to get out the water with the front packs in the RTU races. So that was never really an issue for me. You know, there wasn't an option. So that was why I got into long course. But I love it. I love the challenge, the personal challenge of it, and it's an individual race more than the RTU, which is very tactical and that kind of stuff. So.
5 riders approaching the top of the first col at an altitude of 1,375 metres. They've still got another 75 kilometres to ride once they've completed that. The 40-kilometre marker approaching. Nicolas Spierig riding well, very smooth turnover, and she's an athlete well used to this sort of distance. She's done plenty of half Ironmans in her time.
I have done some half Ironmans already, and I like the distance, even if it's a bit long for me. I like short distance, but I think it's really good for training, and it's a little bit of an adventure here for me, so I really enjoy it. It's a nice place, it's beautiful to be here.
3 kilometres to go to the summit. Here comes Julian Lloyd, the 33-year-old from Échirol Tri Club, obviously from France, and long distance world champion back in 2007 and 2008, so hot favourite to take the gold medal here. Gilles Rebout riding nicely up the centre of the road. Further back we have Domenico Pucella, the leading Italian in the field, just going past Charlie Loisel. So a good pick-up of pace from Pucella, and certainly a man worth watching on the second part of this bike road. This is Rebecca Keats, one lady who'll be heading to Hawaii later in the year.
Obviously I'm going to a race wanting to win, but there's some good competition as well from our team TBB and one of the French girls. So the course really for me doesn't really suit me. I'm not really a climber, but I've learned to have to be living in Leysin. We have to climb every day 15 kilometres uphill, so it's getting better.
Les spécificités de cette course, c'est d'être très dur, donc il faut être bon grimpeur.
This course is especially tough, so we have to climb well and then run at high altitude. The athletes who are acclimatized could have an advantage. I haven't done specific training for this race and started serious training only 1 month ago. I'm relying on my experience from last year to avoid mistakes.
Et donc pour ne pas refaire les mêmes erreurs et concernant mes allures particulièrement.
Benjamin Pernay on the final part of the climb, but I can tell you he's just about to be overtaken by Domenico Poisello, who we saw go past Charlie Loisel earlier on. He really is cracking an excellent place up this first climb, and I just wonder what he's going to be able to do on the Alpe d'Huez right at the end of this cycle phase. Now the Italians traditionally very good on the bike, and certainly the likes of Massimo Cigana saying that he'll ride well, but he'll also be fresher than most at the end of the bike ride, and hopefully he'll be able to turn it on for that run at the town of Alpe d'Huez itself. Gilles Rebout with just 2,000 metres to go to the top of the first climb. Phase 1 complete on the bike, 2 more climbs to go. He's certainly scenting the top of the climb, and he's gone up a couple of gears, pushing the pace, trying to open up a gap between himself and the chasers. Nicolas Spierig, still the leading woman in this Alpe d'Huez triathlon. She really hasn't put a foot wrong so far. An excellent swim in Lake Verney, and she's just settled into a steady but punishing pace. Collonges from France, comes from Saint-Étienne. Switched to the Olympic distance back in 2002, finished third in Los Angeles. Excellent result for her there. So over the top of the climb for Collonges, and she ignores the drink. She's got her own drink on board. That way she knows exactly what she's taking in, and she'll no doubt be getting spare bottles throughout this course. Expecting times for the cycle of around 4 hours for the top men. Some are here to win, some are here just to complete the course.
Alles super! Wunderbar! Super toll, macht Spaß! Alles gut!
Wir waren schon oft hier im Urlaub, haben das schon oft gesehen. Es gibt es ja jetzt in der
I've already been here several times on holiday because it's such a beautiful area. I usually come here for training, but this year I really wanted to compete in the race.
So the climbing goes on and on and on. It's relentless. Over 115 kilometres of tarmac to be covered. Perhaps not as long as some of the Ironman events, but every bit as challenging. The heat's certainly proving to be a problem for some of those who come from colder climes. Those who live in the Alps know how brutal it can be, and the organisers really had no choice but to start the event early today, because there will be athletes who take up to 15, 16, maybe even more hours to cover the course, and therefore they want them all finished before the end of the day. But it does mean that the leading athletes are going to be climbing the Alpe d'Huez at the hottest stage of the day. Poisello, who we saw earlier on, blasting his way up the first col. And now he settles down on the tri-bars and making his way to the bottom of the next climb, which is the Col d'Ornon, another 700 vertical metres to be climbed there. and then they finish it off going all the way up to 1,850 metres into Alpe d'Huez. Here's the race leader, Julian Loi, who's gone very well. Good steady swim from Julian Lloyd and an excellent transition. 27.45 for the swimmers amongst you. That was his time for the 2.2. And he'll certainly be looking to crack this 115 kilometres in under 4 hours today. If he does so, he should be the first man to start on the run. We'll see. Pauitoo again. He'll be keeping half an eye over his shoulder, watching out for his teammate, Massimo Gigana. A little cautious braking from Loi on the descent. And you'll be getting used to number 24, Nicolas Spierig, who really will have shocked a few of the leading men in this race by putting in such a good swim. 28.37, the next fastest amongst the women, Collonges, 30 minutes dead, and there she is, wearing number 30 as well. I wonder what's going through her mind at the moment. She'll know exactly where Spierig is. She's got a big enough team to pass on the information throughout the day. There's Szymon, one of the leading distance triathletes in Hungary. A little slow in the swim and starting to suffer on the climb. Coming up behind, Alexandra Loison, leading 3 other athletes who could all go past the Hungarian in the next 30 seconds or so. That will be a real mental test for Szymon, and she'll have to just try and find something positive at this stage. Good blast from Alexandra Loison, but she's got to be careful that she doesn't push it too hard, because there is still an awful long way to go. Well, she certainly is enjoying the hills. This is where she lives and trains, so I'm not sure the big climbs will frighten her as much as many of the other athletes here. And by the way she's riding, she's enjoying every minute of it.
Moi j'adore les parcours montagneux, donc faire ces 3 cols ça me convient.
I love mountainous courses with climbs, so crossing these 3 passes is okay for me. After that, running in high altitude is a bit special and is also something to experience. Every year I look forward to it, because it really is a special week with the race at the end.
Still enjoying the racing. The Alpe d'Huez climb might change all that. And here is the first turn, number 21 on the climb up to Alpe d'Huez. Of course, they're numbered in reverse order. Coppi and Armstrong have their names on the bottom bend of this climb. And all those who've won the famous Tour de France stages on this climb have their names on one turn or other as they work their way up to the ski resort at the top. 10% the gradient for the first 2 kilometres, then it eases off to around 7.5%, but it doesn't feel as though it gets any easier at all. Julian Lloyd, well, what a good bike ride he's had so far. 5th out of the water, a very quick transition put him into the lead, and he has never looked back, still well under the 4-hour mark as he makes his way up the climb. Well, he'll know this very well. Thousands upon thousands of cyclists come to the Alpe d'Huez throughout the year. There's the Italian Domenico Pauitoo, who's going exceptionally well, 31.40 in the swim, so he gave away a couple of minutes to the likes of Julian Loi in the swim, but he's clawing the distance back slowly, and if he's got anything left in the legs, he might be able to put Loi under pressure. Loi just keeps the speed going round the corners, and that's something he's been doing all the way along. Every 20 minutes or so, making sure he gets a little bit of fluid on board. You cannot afford to get dehydrated on a day like this, on a race like this. Pauitoo, the tempo, the cadence has dropped for the first time, and I wonder whether he's starting to pay the price for pushing so hard up the first col. We'll find out soon enough. We'll try and track him throughout the run. Julian Lloyd, on the other hand, has still got plenty of power in the legs. In the Tour de France, every inch of this road crowded on both sides. One or two recreational riders still making their way up the climb. Not many men have won the stage on the Alpe d'Huez 2 times. Of course, Coppi is one, Armstrong is another, and of course the late great Marco Pantani won this stage twice. But maybe these riders are starting to appreciate what they had to go through. Here is Charlie Loisel, who looks to have picked the pace up. Just very steady on the first climb, Loisel, but now we've got to the third and final climb. His tempo is picked up and he's starting to claw the distance back on those in front. This man is going very well indeed, and it is Massimo Gigana of Italy. Remember, a pro cyclist for 4 years. He had a near fatal accident on the bike, but he's come back well. He's only started swimming in 2004, and that is still his weak discipline, but he really has made huge leaps and bounds, and the Italians feeling that he is their great hope in the world of triathlon. Julian Loi taking full advantage of the drink stop, takes a bottle, takes a cup. He wants as much fluid on board as he can get. Pacelli also looking for water. He wants the right sort of water. There it is. But he's a man who is really suffering. He's hit the wall, having pushed too hard early on, and a chance now for Charlie Loisel to get his own back and go back past the man who overtook him on the first climb. So Loisel is still moving well, and he'll be looking for a result in the top 5 or 6 today if he can complete at this rate and then keep some sort of speed going on the running phase. Remember, over 20 kilometres of running to be done at the end of this cycle ride. Here is a man who's going exceptionally well, Massimo Gigana, 2.5 minutes slower than the best through the water, but he's more than made up for that on the cycle ride so far. And he's recorded the 2 fastest splits on the first 2 cols. Here's another man who's going well, Patrick Bringer, who loves the mountainous triathlons.
In triathlon, there has always been this idea of the challenge to go beyond your limits. Today, there are a lot of flat Ironman courses, and those courses don't attract me or many others like me. It's no surprise if tough races are successful. I think very tough races are attractive to people, because crossing the finish line is already a personal challenge. And even for those like me, who are targeting a place on the podium, the first objective is to finish the race.
A steady performance so far from Charlie Loisel. He's a good swimmer, he's a good rider. Running is his weakest discipline. Just topping up on energy gels. There is Cyril Nouveau, the man whose brainchild this event was, of course, former world champion over the long distance. And back to Gigana, who is still climbing exceptionally well. The only man really keeping pace with him is Patrick Bringer, and in fact Julian Loi also producing good times, but Gigana looks remarkably fresh, and that was always his plan. Well, there's one of his support crew just indicating that he is now 2 minutes behind the leader. He's worked his way through the field. Julian Loi is the man who is ahead, and in fact those two have travelled at roughly the same speed over the cycle phase so far, but Gigana is looking the fresher of the two in my book, and we'll see whether it turns out that way when it comes to the run. Now remember, his career before this was all about cycling, but with a VO2 like his, he didn't take too long to adapt to the running. Here is the race leader, Julian Loi, who's now 33 years old. As I mentioned earlier, the world champion over the long distance event in 2007 and 2008. He won Nice back in 2004, so he's no stranger to the long distances. Still working well. Of the two, Loi and Gigana, I think the Italian is a slightly quicker runner, but it's still very, very close. And really it's all about who has paced the day's race correctly. Loi has led for much of the time, and he looks as though he's going to be the first man to the Alpe d'Huez that you can just see in the background. Still another 3 or 4 turns to go, and then a slight downhill to the finish area. Julian Lloyd, just a glance over his left shoulder to maybe have a quick word with the cameraman as they make their way past. He knows that most of the work is done now, and it doesn't matter who you go past. When you overtake someone, even if they are a tourist, it makes you feel better. Rising up onto his feet is Gigana of Italy, hoping to claim the victory in this Alpe d'Huez triathlon. His race has gone to plan so far. He knew he wouldn't be first out of the water, but he's clawed his way through the field, and he now has only Julian Loi ahead of him. And Loi getting ready for T2. Even after 115 kilometres of cycling, he is thinking well, and he wants to make sure that he doesn't waste a single second as he switches from cycling to running. A chance now just to ease off the legs. Might be an idea to change the gears up, make it a little bit easier. Well, remarkable that he can run at all at this stage, but this is what he's trained for many, many years. And as I mentioned, he is a long distance specialist, and he's looking to take the victory for France today. Races for Échirol Triathlon Club.
Voilà Julien qui calmement a traversé la zone de touche-bien, le dossard, la casquette, et c'est parti pour Julien.
And that didn't take any time whatsoever. He's grabbed a little refreshment, on with the cap, on with the glasses, and now he'll just get into his running stride. Looks very easy already, but when the first climb starts, that's when he might start to feel it. Remember, they're starting this race at over 1,700 meters of altitude, and the oxygen is very thin compared to sea level. These men are trained for it. Many of the recreational athletes are not. Gigana, another man who trains and lives in the mountains, so I'm not sure that the altitude is going to bother him. Question is, what has he got left in the legs? Can he get straight into his rhythm like we saw from Julian Loi? It does look at this early stage as if the race is going to be between them, but watch out for Patrick Bringer, who we've seen on the bike once or twice. He's a very good runner. James Kanama, we're told that the South African is in very good running form as well, but he's away behind at the moment. Here comes Patrick Bringer. Montluçon Triathlon Club finished second in Embrun in the Ironman event there back in 2008. He's got a top 3 finish in Nice as well, and did much of his pre-season training in Barcelona. He feels he's well prepared, and so far today he has shown exactly that. He gets away third and starts the run very strongly indeed. Here is James Kanama, the South African. Had a bad chest infection last year, had to stop racing for a while, fully recovered from that, and he's got an Ironman time of just over 9 hours. Looks quite heavy for the run, but I'm sure he's in a good enough condition to cope with the 20 kilometres that still have to be completed. Charlie Loisel, who had such a good swim, faded in the initial stages of the cycle, but he came back strongly on the Alpe d'Huez, and as he went past each of the 21 hairpins, he seemed to pull back a place, and now he's back into the top 5, and if he can hold on to that position over the next 20 kilometres, that would be an excellent performance and a good result for him. But remember, his running is his weakest discipline. So the bike completed 4 hours 23 total for Julian Loi. Gigana has got to within 2 minutes 10 of the race leader, and hopefully we'll get more splits as this run goes on. Loi is out on the hills. Remember, it's 3 times round a 7.2 kilometre loop, so just over 21 kilometres to be run. And he'll get plenty of opportunity to keep an eye on the other athletes if they close on him. At the moment, there is no sign of Massimo Gigana of Italy, but I'm sure that Julian Lloyd has plenty of supporters and a strong team out there who will give him the split on each and every lap. Gigana with a slightly higher tempo, very upright stance, familiar to many of the Italian mountain runners. Now, we haven't seen the women for a while. Here is Nicolas Spierig, who led out of the water and has led all the way on the bike so far. 1, 2, 3 bottles, just needs to complete this without colliding with any of the spectators or officials. And she's clean away past the Dutch corner and continues her climb up the Alpe d'Huez. Well, she's got to be happy with the way things have gone so far. She's beaten Collonges and Sizemore, two of the other main contenders in the women's field, beaten them convincingly over the last 18 months. So I think Spierig will be fully confident that she can keep this going. And maybe she even feels that she's just racing herself rather than the other athletes. This is all about pushing your levels, but making sure you don't push too hard before the final stages. The Alpe d'Huez mascot indicating that she's not got far to go on the bike. She'll continue straight on here. The quick route into the town is to turn right, but they'll take her up a little more height gain before they give her the luxury of getting off the bike and getting the legs going in the mountain. She's a pretty handy runner. Here she goes through the transition now. T2, no rush at this stage. Just don't make any silly mistakes. Don't give the officials any reason to disqualify you. She'll know exactly where she stands, and she's gained a fair amount of time over the rest of the women's field. 4 hours 24 on the bike. It doesn't look as though Jean Collonges is going to crack the cycle ride in under 4.5, so she will gain 7 or 8 valuable minutes and might even have the first couple of kilometres put behind her in the run before the next women come through the second of the transitions. Well, always nice to overtake other athletes, and Spierig straight into her running. Very, very strong indeed. Not carrying an ounce of extra flesh. The Hungarian athlete who we picked up on a little earlier, Erika Kuzmor, second in the World Championship long distance race back in 2007, and is now just over 6 minutes behind Nicolas Spierig. Well, that must equate to around 1,500 metres, certainly for the first phase of the run, and sounds a lot. But should Spierig really suffer from dehydration or hit the wall, as we say, we may find that Sizemore can claim the win. Collonges, the third woman through T2, and looking a little bit dainty on the feet. I think she's suffering a little. She's not thinking straight. She's gone straight past her bike park, looking for her equipment. All the bags, they are difficult to identify, but that's one of the key elements of triathlon, is to make sure you know exactly where your station is so you don't waste any time at all. The baseball cap essential, and so the leading women now with 2 disciplines completed and 1 more to go. Nicolas Spierig, we know, with that leading time, 4 hours 55.16 to this stage. Sizemore in second, Collonges in third. Further back, Louison has gone well, and Keats, the Australian, down in 4th position at the moment. Well, there really don't seem to be any weaknesses in Spierig's game. 8th out of the water overall. That includes all the men in the field. She's had a good bike ride, has clocked a top 30 time for the whole field as well, and she seems to be running even faster, expecting a time of around 1 hour 45 for the 22 kilometres. Well, you can see it's not an easy 22 kilometres, no flat tarmac in this game. A mountain route around the town of Alpe d'Huez. Collonges is starting to get into her running and is eating up the distance at quite a rate. I think she's just accelerated because she's seen Sizemore, the Hungarian, in front of her, and she's going to move herself into second position. And it's going to be interesting to see what Sizemore can do. Can she respond? Can she stay with Collonges and hopefully challenge at the finish? I think it looks to me as though the Hungarian is limping slightly on that left side. Blisters possibly. Could also be a sore knee or hip, which often produces that little subtle limp, but also suspect that the pain going through the head is exaggerating it. It's a really tough time for Sizemore, and Collonges has found strength from another athlete's weakness.
Bellissimo. Grande.
Further back in the field, there are plenty of riders out there enjoying the occasion, and why not? Not every day you get the opportunity to compete in an event like this, and this will be an occasion that they talk about for many, many years to come. Some will come back and do it again, others will say once is enough. Many have been reduced to a walk, many athletes have stopped, but the likes of Katia Germain has kept going despite the pain.
Hard, très dur in français.
It is very hard, but I'm dealing with it so far. It's so hot today, there's not even one cloud. It's incredibly hard, and we still have to reach the top, but I'll manage it hopefully.
5 kilometers to the top.
5 or 7? 5?
So Germain back on her bike, having found out exactly how far she's got to go to the top of the climb, but it's all action at the front of the field. And here is Massimo Gigana, who has upped the pace in the early stages of the run, and he's gone past Julian Lloyd as if he was standing still. What a phenomenal burst of effort from the Italian. I wonder whether he'll pay a price for that later on. Lloyd needs to stay light. He's got to stay positive if he wants a chance of winning the Alpe d'Huez triathlon today. Well, Gigana still looking strong. It's an upright posture. It's a strong body position, and he is reaping the benefits of taking it fairly easy on the bike by his standards. Well, what a remarkable comeback. A bad fall, almost broke his back when he was a professional cyclist, and it took a couple of years to nurture him back to his athletic best. And here he is, he switched discipline and he's proving himself to be a world force. Where he can go from here, I don't know, but certainly the mountain triathlons seem to be his thing. Through the first drink stop as the race leader. Number 3, Patrick Bringer, grimacing, but still holding a very, very good pace. And he is closing down on Julian Loi as well, having put in a good run. Bringer's time on the bike, 3:57.06. Compare that to Gigana, who was 3:52.51. I think Gigana probably has done enough work on the bike to hold off the likes of Bringer, but there's no doubt that Bringer is running well. The Montluçon man has not done enough, because this is Massimo Gigana entering Alpe d'Huez for the 4th and final time today in a time well under 6 hours. He's going to complete the EDF Alpe d'Huez triathlon, the 4th time this event has been run, and he goes into a very short list of winners. And my goodness though, he is a worthy winner. A swimming time of 30:14, 3:52 on the bike, 1 hour 30 and 20 seconds for the 22-kilometre run to complete and win the Alpe d'Huez triathlon. What a man, what a run. I wonder what we're going to see him do in the future. An excellent performance from Patrick Bringer, enjoying time to share his success with the family, finishing in second place. And of course, James Kunama, who we didn't see too much of, an excellent run from him as well. The South African taking the third place on the podium. And quick to be congratulated by Massimo Gigana, the race winner. So, an international blend on the podium, Italy, France and South Africa. Julian Lloyd, who led for so much of the race. He had the lead coming out of T1, he had the lead coming out of T2, but with 10 kilometres to go, Gigana went past him and he just went downhill from there, from first down to fourth, but a really brave effort from Julian Loi of France. Here are the results. Loi in fourth, Kunama third, Bringer an impressive second place, but it's Massimo Gigana of Italy who takes the win.
La gara è veramente una splendida gara, veramente bella, molto dura.
It's a wonderful course with beautiful scenery, but it's very tough. I still had some energy after the bike, as I'm a good cyclist, but running at 2,000 meters altitude is very difficult. The last kilometers were okay, as I had a comfortable lead.
Back to the women's race, and Nicolas Spierig still out there, still pushing hard, taking on board as much fluid as she can. And then of course, what she doesn't want to drink is thrown over the head just to try and keep the temperature down. And it's been a brutal day for this sort of a race. 35 degrees recorded at the hottest part of the day, and most of us would struggle to do our shopping in that temperature. A little bit of Coke taken on as well. Coffee, Coke, both used at the end of a race like this just to give you a little bit of a boost, a little bit of a caffeine boost. In second place in the women's event, Jean Collange of France. Well, they're all starting to hurt at this stage. It's a question of who's got the strong mind, who's got a strong enough mind just to keep the legs moving. It's no problem now for Spierig. She can see the finish line. She can see plenty of men who've still got 20 kilometres to run. She has outclassed all the women. She's outclassed so many of the men. It's been a truly magnificent performance from Nicolas Spierig, who claims the win for Switzerland. I wonder whether we'll see her back next year. The smile on her face says she's almost forgotten the pain already. Tremendous stuff. 28:37 for the swim. Just under 4.5 hours for Spierig's bike ride. And outclassing Jean Collange. But what a great performance to claim second place. Third in Los Angeles behind Dibbins and Whitcomb in previous events. Only 114th in the world rankings. And the emotion after such an effort getting the better of her. Sizemore was in second place at the end of the cycle ride, but looked very heavy and really struggling in the early stages of the run. Has to settle for third on the day, 11 minutes behind Nicolas Spierig. Rebecca Keats of Australia claiming fourth.
It's a really hard course, and the last 2Ks on the bike were incredibly hard, and the last lap on the run I had cramps and stitches. So it was really hard, but it's just an amazing race, and it's fantastic to be here.
J'avais bien géré jusqu'à l'Alpe parce que je voulais arriver assez fraîche dans l'Alpe.
I've controlled my pace until the Alpe because I wanted to be fresh. I stuck to my plans and started quite slow, and so I could carry on to the top at the same speed.
Marcus Ornelas coming in to finish, wearing number 1 as last year's winner. He hasn't managed the top 10 this year, over 37 minutes behind the great Massimo Gigana. 2:30, superb performance from the Frenchman Vincent Moret. And Frankie Favre, number 95, finishing 18th on the day with his troop on board. What an occasion for him. He can now head for the hotel and the jacuzzi. But out on the tracks around Alpe d'Huez, there are many, many athletes who have a lot of running and walking to do.
¡Viva España! Y los españoles y los franceses, los alemanes y todo el mundo.
Come on, Spain. Come on, France and Germany, and everybody. It is very, very tough. It is boiling hot, but I enjoyed it, and I'm very happy.
Y muy contento, la verdad que muy contento y he disfrutado muchísimo. La verdad, estoy muy contento.
Je pense que là, l'épreuve est vraiment montée en puissance. On le voit sur le nombre de participants.
The event is getting bigger and bigger. When you look at the number of participants and the number of international participants, last year on the long and short courses, we had about 950 entrants. This year, we had over 1,500 entrants. And I even had to limit the entries on short distance race for technical reasons. With over 600 international athletes, the event is growing in importance.
Cyril Neveu really has done an excellent job this year in organising the Alpe d'Huez triathlon, and what a triathlon it is. The swim in Lake Berney followed by that gruesome cycle ride involving over 1,700 metres of vertical climbing, and then a run at almost 2,000 metres to finish it off. There's no doubt that this EDF Alpe d'Huez triathlon could become the ultimate test for triathletes.